Hi, this is Amy Magyar from FromWithin Coaching. Today I am here with Augusta Good-Crawl, who is one of our FromWithin coaches. And Augusta and I have been doing a series of unpacking CliftonStrengths. And today is adaptability. And so we actually just had a really funny moment right before we started recording about adaptability for the two of us actually needing to be both go with the flow. And that's how I would, for me personally, that's how I would describe, I describe adaptability as you're the go with the flow. You very much just sort of take what's coming at you. You can process it very quickly and just move with it and just be fluid with it. So that's exactly what happened on the other side of this recording that you as the viewer didn't see. Both of us had to put our adaptability neither one of us have those as strengths, but we use those skills very quickly.
Absolutely.
So Augusta, welcome.
Yeah. Hi, Amy. So glad to be here again this morning. And what an appropriate theme to be talking about today.
It's
oh
so
my goodness.
true.
Yeah.
So if I said to you, how would you describe adaptability in your language? What comes up for you when you have clients that have adaptability? Are there words or phrases that you commonly think of or that they say that defines adaptability?
Absolutely. And for me, it really is all about, being able to navigate the present moment and really being focused on what can I do right now? What is happening right now? And in a way that really isn't something they have to intentionally focus or think about.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful talent in that these people with adaptability in their top 5 are really able to just kind of land somewhere and see what's going on and be able to navigate any kind of changing situation. They really, really thrive with variety and change. And so it's a really, really neat theme. I just had a client recently who had adaptability as his top. We found out after, he had told me what he did, and he actually is a first responder in emergency situations. And for him to see that, this is why I can just kind of be in the moment and know exactly what to do.
Yes.
It's such an incredible, first responder are words that are often used to talk about adaptability.
That's such a great way of saying it. It is first responder. It absolutely is. Let me do this for the listeners a little bit to kind of say, if we thought about past, present, and future, we would look at past as maybe a strength is context. It's important for them to see the past, understand the past. That's where they live so that they can actually move forward. Futurist is very much about, sort of forward thinking and seeing the future. And adaptability, the reason you can be that first responder in literally and figuratively is because you are comfortable in the now, what you know now, right? You don't worry so much about the future. You don't need the context of the past. You're good right in that space, and you're able to meet whatever is coming at you right now with what you know. Yeah. Right? Yeah. It's such a powerful, people with adaptability truly, they are so comfortable in upheaval, which I think for some other people makes their skin crawl.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And they can bring another, term that's often said is bringing calm to chaos. People with adaptability high in their strengths profile are often described as very calm and easygoing.
Yes.
And it's this wonderful flexibility and versatility with interacting with the present and change and chaos even that is very calm and they really, it's a relationship theme, which is really so interesting because sometimes one might think it's, or talk about it more in an executing type of way, but people with adaptability high on their profile really can help others.
Yes.
Stay calm, be calm, get into action, or find clarity amidst change or chaos.
Right. Now the flip side of that is, I think at times, whether it's personally, professionally, if you have somebody with adaptability who has that sort of go with the flow, sort of attitude, is that they may appear to not be concerned.
Mhm.
And I know that that has in
Yeah.
some families ruffled feathers before, where I have a client who had adaptability, and she was so able, at least visually from the outside, it appeared she was navigating actually a pretty traumatic incident, with not a lot of outward emotion. And I think people around her were kind of saying, like, aren't you feeling? Aren't you
Mhm.
in shock? Aren't you this and that? And she said, oh, I'm feeling all of that, but I'm not going to fight it.
Yeah.
Right. I need to
Wow.
accept what's happening and move from there.
Yeah.
And that's a very Zen sort of
Mm.
Buddhist thing of you don't fight and put your hand out. You accept and you acknowledge what's coming at you. You're not rolling over and saying, I have no effect on what's coming at me, right?
Mhm.
Instead, it's just, this is going to come at me. Let me use some of my favorite languages. I'm going to choose to respond to what's coming at me,
Response. Yeah.
not react, which is that visceral and that fight, right? So sort of, I
Mm.
think adaptability people with those strengths very much respond to situations and not knee jerk react to them. However, from the outside, it may actually look like they're just making a quick decision and how to move forward, but it's
Yeah.
not that. They're just not showing the outward fight that often many of us,
Well,
even though you and I
exactly.
are both change agents in terms of being coaches, neither one of us has adaptability
Yeah.
as the top 5 strengths. And it doesn't mean, like all strengths, right? It doesn't mean we don't do this.
Right.
It's just, it's not our first 5 tools that we use consistently.
Right. We might have to think a little bit about becoming adaptable, or how do
Yes.
we be adaptable in a situation. You were talking about that, and I had this incredible vision of a palm tree, just being
Yes.
flexible and at ease in that type of situation where others, um, understandably, could have a more of a freeze or a fight kind of
Yes.
relationship with the moment of chaos or whatever the situation is. Yeah, that's really beautiful, that word ease, and yeah, and otherwise versus rigid. So
Right.
that's the beauty of someone with adaptability on a team, that's come into maybe say a project where everybody is kind of stalled, stuck, frozen. uh,
Yes.
this person would be able to come in and really find clarity with that ease and be able to help others get into action.
I think one of the things we're going to be discussing analytical. And I think one of the things that's interesting is to kind of juxtaposition the two.
Mm.
Um, a person with analytical needs facts and data and needs the processing and can sometimes be deemed as rigid. And I could see that there's a conflict between adaptability. Go with the flow. It looks like you're making decisions easily. It looks like you're not being harmed. And I could see the two of them kind of coming at each other and being like, you're not taking this seriously, or you're not
Yeah.
doing the
Yes.
work to really look at this. And I think at times when we bring our strengths into, I call it sort of quote unquote battle, which is you're facing a challenge, you're going into a meeting you don't want to go into, you're being asked to explain yourself, is that as somebody that goes with the flow, if they come up against somebody who has that futurist, analytical, contextual, any of those where it's anything but the now, I think there can be some strife. And I think
Absolutely.
that that's super important for someone with adaptability to sort of understand that pretty much you are not the same as most people coming at you. Most people coming at you are not okay with the now. They are
Exactly.
not okay with massive change. And so even, you may get frustrated if you have adaptability. I don't know if you ever have this with your clients, but my one client with adaptability, she's very, why is it so hard to just move forward from this? Like
Yeah.
we can't change this. And as a leader, I think she's struggling with helping people first understanding that not everybody has that strength,
Mm-hmm.
right? And number two, helping them figure out how to find mini versions of adaptability for them,
Yeah.
because they're going to baby step to adaptability because it's possible, right? But she can't expect them to completely swallow, oh, let's say a massive global pandemic. Not that that's happening right now, but let's pretend it is, right? Someone with adaptability is going to be so much more at ease with the unknown and what's happening. And so I think sometimes when there's a strife between a leader and employee, if the leader has adaptability or the employee has adaptability and it's the opposite for the other person, they're just sort of, there's so much doubt that can happen. And it has, again, we say, adaptability is not laissez-faire. It is not lazy. It is not sitting back and just letting things happen. It absolutely not. They're the ones you want to help you work through change.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is such a good point, especially you're talking about a team, that might have a different constellation of strengths in it. And, I'm thinking of another client with adaptability very high on his in his strengths, and his partner was somebody who did not understand his ease and his kind of calmness, and she had discipline and focus really high.
Yeah.
And so for them to understand, this is how I navigate my world best. This is how I get to where I need to go. This is the best way I navigate. Right. It really helped for them to both understand where each other was. And even in terms of goal setting, somebody with high adaptability yes. is not going to really want to set really long-term goals and have the planning and have the structure around it. And this was another point of contention between them that they really began to understand within each other. Somebody with adaptability really does well with more of a short-term goal because they need that variety. They need that change around yes. them. Yeah. And so once that was understood, he was able to then set more realistic goals for himself and move forward. And she had some understanding of why she does what she does. Yeah, it was just in the goal setting. That was huge because they may think, why can't I set this long-term goal or be like somebody else? But when you realize this is how I best do things.
It's so huge, personally, professionally, to just understand. I'll go back to our strengths they're so easy for us. They come natural. They fuel us. We don't even know at times that we do them. And so we just assume that everybody else has them, that everybody else thinks this way, right? And it's just, we're going to say this over and over and over again during these Unpacked. Each time we unpack something is reminding you as the listener that and even, let me just say this, even if someone has adaptability and you do as well, sometimes your adaptabilities can show up differently because here's the thing. You have to look at some of the other, how adaptability lines up, where it is in your strengths, right? 1 to 5. And some of the other strengths that may be either in conflict or supportive of it that, let me just give an example. You could have 2 people with adaptability, but one is scared of spiders. And I know that sounds stupid, but this is a simple, sort of thing to look at. That person who's scared of spiders probably isn't going to go with the flow if they walk into a room and see a giant spider. There's a good chance they probably would react differently than the person who didn't have adaptability and go with the flow and is scared of spiders. But the person who has adaptability and could care less about spiders, they're just gonna go with the flow. They're gonna get a cup, and where the person may turn around and run out of the room. And so adaptability, it doesn't mean everything you go with the flow. There may be a trigger for you, right? And so just being aware of that, because when you do get triggered to be able to be in the flow, that's super great information for you, right? Because that helps you understand, this is something I've got to work through. This is something I've got to understand. But part of your stuckness, or part of the discomfort with whatever's happening to you, is because you traditionally can go with the flow. And when all of a sudden you can't, it can be really disruptive, because you're like, why am I stuck? Why am I, right? So I think for the clients that I've worked with that have adaptability, when they get stuck, whew, it is rough for them because their natural inclination is to get themselves out of stuck.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So they've, by the time they get to us, they've tried everything, or at least what they're
Yeah.
aware of that they need to try. And so they're just so overwhelmed by the fact they have they're not overwhelmed by the problem. They're overwhelmed by the problem of not being able to get through the problem. I
Absolutely.
don't know if that makes sense, but
That does. No, that does. And, it just points out too, that understanding what our strengths are, where they are in constellation with our other strengths and our, our own life experiences, and be able to say, wow, okay, well, I'm going to quit trying to fit myself in this. I'm just thinking of the goal setting thing, of this goal setting kind of way that works for someone else, and understand what works for me.
yeah.
And then it's just, what a freedom to really then develop that skill of where can I best fit in, where, career wise, what situations and opportunities can I look for where I know I'm going to thrive with
Yes.
the strengths that I do have.
So to that point, professionally and personally, I think when we've looked at some of the other strengths and we think about adaptability, where these people thrive is in situations where they can live where there's long-term planning, but that's not their forte. So what they need to do if they're in a job or in a role at home where it's about long-term is to create the mini goals, right? The short, in this week, in this day, to help them so that they're knocking things off more daily and maybe even hourly.
Yes.
So that they feel like it is so much more, I'm trying to think of the term right now, is it just fits the needs now.
It can bring that variety in that they so need to, and thrive in,
Love
those shorter goals, because then it's like, okay, what's next? What is this moment bringing? So it's, absolutely.
Yeah. So my before we sort of sign off, and let's just remember these are designed to kind of be not in lieu of a coaching session or in lieu of a deeper dive into your strengths with the PDF that we supply, but sort of helping you hear a little bit about in live sort of version of where we see adaptability showing up with our clients and things like that. And no matter what, we highly recommend that if you do have adaptability, to consider doing a little coaching session around that of where is it, where is the strength of that? Where's the beauty of that? Where maybe some of the basement moments where maybe that strength is dialed up a little high and you're creating conflict at work or at home. So what I'm going to say to that at the end of this is, remember, when massive change is coming at you, the massive tidal wave of change, and everybody around you has a look of shock and horror. With adaptability, you don't have to pretend you have a look of shock and horror, but know that if you say, oh goody, everything I know is going to change and I'm so excited, that there may be some people around you who think you've lost it, and you haven't. The idea is about showing up with that certainty that everything's going to be okay and help the others around. But if you almost immediately act like everything's going to be okay immediately, and you don't give them the chance to process, they're not going to follow you. They're not going to believe you. They're going to think that you're just changing for change's sake, or you're just, you don't have a sense of the depth of what's the changes. And you do. You do. But how you respond to the change and those who are reacting around you, it's just, for me, it's the final tip that I have for adaptability, for people to just be super aware. So I'm curious for you if you have a tip for people with adaptability, or tip for those that are married to or have adaptability on their teams.
Absolutely.
End us with.
I love, kind of that vision or that thought of a first responder, and just that calm in chaos, and that ability to just land in the present moment and kind of be able to adapt and know what to do, is a beautiful metaphor. And finding situations, career positions or opportunities where you can kind of land and help others or help situations is it's a beautiful thing when one understands that.
It is a beautiful thing. I love it. Augusta, I love doing this with you. We will be continuing to unpack other strengths, but I think
Absolutely.
it's, I have my own light bulb moments when I talk out my strengths, and we encourage those that are viewing these videos, talk them out with somebody, because I think the beauty of this is that we're thinking about past clients or maybe current clients, and we're realizing that the more awareness you have around your strengths, the more you can control them, dial them up, dial them down, right? And really hone them in as your superpowers. So
Absolutely.
thank you for the time of doing this, and thank you for being adaptable.
Oh my goodness. You too, Amy. I look forward to seeing you next time.
We'll see you soon.
All right.